guys, and welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be talking about the palette that I received in my January BoxyCharm, and that is this Glam Metals palette from Crown Brushes. I'm going to talk a little bit about the company, not very much because I've done a video on them before and I will link that down below. I'm going to talk a little bit about this product, and then I'm going to go into showing you two looks that I did with this palette. I actually have a different look on my eyes today. I'm not going to do a tutorial for that, but I'll just tell you what I did. We'll do some swatches, I'll do a review at the end, and for all of that there will be timestamps in the description bar down below, so you can jump ahead to whatever part of the video you want to watch. So let's talk about Crown. They are a company that started out, I believe, and most other products they have are brushes. They are mostly inexpensive brushes. I think they have many different lines of them, so I think there are more expensive ones. I've only received a couple of Crown brushes through subscription boxes, and I enjoy them. The couple that I have, I do go back to and use again. They don't seem to shed, although I've read some reviews of people having issues with that. They also do makeup, like this palette. This palette actually looks different than a lot of their eyeshadow palettes. A lot of them are sort of larger palettes with lots of colors and a black packaging. I don't know if they're moving away from that or not, but this is slightly different for them. They are also a private label company. That means that if I chose to come out with brushes or eyeshadow palettes, that I could go to Crown and say, okay, I want these 8 brushes here, but I want them with my brand name on them, and they will produce those and I can sell them under my name. If you're ever wondering about any controversy around this company, it's not necessarily controversy around this company. They make private label brushes and cosmetics, it's what they do. But there are a number of other companies that people think may be using Crown brushes as their supplier and not sort of owning up to it, whereas the Crown brushes are less expensive. So I have heard originally that Morphe brushes and also Morphe palettes are private label of Crown brushes and palettes. Now I sort of feel like maybe since the Jaclyn Hill palette with Morphe that they may have gone a different route with making their eyeshadows, but when you look at some of their original palettes, some of Crown's original palettes, they look very similar. I've heard the same thing for Coastal Scents, is it? That they also use Crown as their private label eyeshadow company. I've also heard the same about Juvia's Place. All of these are unconfirmed rumors. Usually you don't tell people who your private labeler is because oftentimes you can go directly to that company like Crown brushes and get products for a lower price point with the same quality. But that's everything I'm going to say about Crown brushes, so let's get into talking about this palette. It is a 9-pan palette. It comes just sort of in this little sleeve here to pull the palette out. On the back it says, rock your look with the Crown Pro Glam Metals Eyeshadow Palette. These highly pigmented, ultra blendable shadows make smoky eye looks a breeze. To take your look up a notch, wet your eyeshadow brush before application. This will intensify the foiling effect of the shadows, resulting in a sultry, smoky glam that will make you want to rock the night away. The top 2 ingredients in here are talc and mica. Some people are sensitive to talc, so if you are, that's good to know that that's in there. And this palette is made in China. This palette is $29.99 US, and that is actually higher than most of the other palettes that I saw that had many more colors. If you look at some of their big palettes that have like, I don't know, like 20 to 30 different pans in it, they're selling in the low 20 price point. So I'm not sure if it's this new branding, new packaging is why this is more expensive, but it does seem a little out of context with the rest of the products that they sell. I'm gonna do some swatches for you now. We're gonna do this in a very casual kind of way. I'm just gonna sort of go through each of the rows here. I'm actually gonna start with the bottom row so that we end up with the matte black color last. So in this bottom row, we have the Wicked, Glam Rock, and Pop Rock. And I'm just gonna swatch these with my fingers. So they don't swatch great, they're rather patchy. This top color right here, which is the Wicked, I find to be quite patchy, and it's kind of matte but kind of not. This next one is a little bit more of a metallic shade. It kind of looks like a brown metallic, and then down here we have Pop Rock, and that's also the shade that I mostly have on my eyes today, and it's kind of a silver with a greenish undertone in a metallic as well. For the middle row here, we have Rock On, Rebel, and Heavy Metal. These are all metallic shades, and I'm just gonna go in again. Now I think this has some of the nice shades here. This one is very much up at the top. It's almost like an antique gold kind of metallic. It's a gold color but with a brownish and greenish undertone. The one in the middle here, Rebel, is really that bright orangish copper, which I think is quite nice. And then we have Heavy Metal, which is this metallic blue. Finally, on the top row, we have Punk, Wild Thing, and Black Metal. And Black Metal is the one sort of truly matte in there. And we will do another swatch. So right away you can see it's not a great matte black, it's very gray. This one is sort of a metallic burgundy, and then we have a slightly lighter metallic blue that I think is quite pretty. Before we get into the two sort of formal tutorials, I'm going to zoom you in and show you what I did on my eyes today, which is probably the lightest, most natural kind of look that I could get out of this palette. So what I did for this look is I started out with Pop Rock, this sort of silvery shade with the green undertone, and put that all over my lid. I actually just packed that on with my finger all over my lid. And then I went in with Rock On, that sort of antique gold color, and put that with my finger, patted it just on the outside edge to deepen it up a little bit. And I used Pop Rock again underneath my lash line. And then I just took a little bit of a bronzer, matte bronzer, and went in to blend out the top crease there, just so it would have something matte to blend into. So we're gonna go into the two tutorials that I did, which between all of these, you should see every color in the palette being used. And then I'll be back at the end to give you my thoughts on this palette. For this look, I'm going to do something very blue-gray cool tone. I'm going to go in with Punk, Heavy Metal, and Black Metal, and I'm going to try to recreate or do a better version of the look that I did in my Galactic review from last week, I believe was when I posted that, or last weekend, and see if I can make it look a little bit better this time, because I feel like it got a little mumbled and jumbled and muddy last time, but that's the look that I'm going to try to do, and I will clip my hair back, zoom you in, and we'll get started. Because there really is no very light shade in here, I've already put some primer on my lid and then just powdered over it with face powder, my Rimmel Stay Matte powder. So the first thing I'm going to do is go into my crease, and I'm going to do that with the shade Punk up here. Now this is a sort of metallic shade, but hey, there's no rules to makeup, and nobody says that your crease has to be a matte shade. And there's not really any matte shades other than the Black Metal one in here. There's ones with different varying amounts of the metallic that are in here, but I'm going to go in with Punk, which is that light silvery blue, and put that all through my crease. And I'm doing that just with a very big fluffy brush. Once I get the color down there, I've just sort of cleaned off my brush a little bit, and then I'm going to just blend along the top line there, or closer to my brow bone, just to try to take out any harsh edges and make it all blended. Now, one of the reasons that people tend not to use shimmer or metallic shades in their crease is because it does tend to emphasize texture. This wouldn't necessarily be my go-to, but hey, this is sort of a glam metal look, so why not? And now that I've got that sort of all fluffed out, I'm going to go back into Punk again and darken it up a little bit further down. And I'm doing this kind of focusing towards the outer third of my eye. Now I'm going to take a flat synthetic brush, and I'm going to go into Heavy Metal there, which is the much darker, or maybe not that much darker. Let's take a quick look here. Like, it's slightly darker silver bluish color. And for that one, I'm going to put it all over my lid. I'm gonna first start out trying it dry, but I'll most likely go back in wet to sort of bring out the shimmer that much more. Now you can see it's a little chunky there, so I'm gonna have to do some cleanup after. And I'm getting fallout down here on my cheeks as well. what I'm trying to do is keep the line sort of very precise here, not super blended, so that it's almost like a cut crease. And I'm not too worried here at the outside because I'm going to go in with a darker black metal shade to sort of give a little bit of depth in the outer corner there. So I'm going to do the same with the other side, and then I will wet the brush and try to amplify the metallicness a little bit more. So I've got heavy metal on both lids, and now I'm going to use a bit of my Wet n Wild spray to dampen the brush and go back in again. The last time I attempted this look, I did try to blend along the line there. This time I'm keeping it more of a cut crease because I found when I started to blend, everything went a little dark and gray. It took away the blueness and just made it all look a little muddy together. I'm next going to take this little Omni detail brush. It's just sort of a flat shader brush, and I'm going to go into black metal because I want to give a little bit of depth out there in the outer V. Overdid it a little bit on one of the eyes, so I'm just going to go in and try to blend a little bit as it was fairly patchy there. Not trying to distribute this color much more, I'm just trying to smooth it out a little bit. It's a little smoky and a little tiny bit messy. It's not necessarily a bad thing. This is glam metal look we're going for. I'm probably going to clean up with a little bit of powder and also, you know, get rid of some of this fallout when I go and finish up the rest of my makeup. But for now, I'm going to do the lower lash line. And for this, I'm going to take this little shader brush again. I'm going to go into Punk, the lighter blue shade up here in the corner. And I'm going to kind of do that all over under my eye because I want this to be quite smoky and grungy looking. I'm going to take a very flat little detail brush here. This is just one of the little Luxie travel brushes. I'm going to go into black metal, the black shade, and just stamp it a little bit on the outer third along my lower lash line. And then I'm going to use the shader brush again to sort of smoke everything out. You do have to be very careful with these because there's so much fallout. It does feel like I'm getting a little bit of it in my eyes, which is not the most pleasant feeling in the world. Okay, I'm gonna go do the rest of my makeup, my mascara, everything else, clean up a little bit with some powder, the fallout that I've got going on, and then come back and show you the final look. Back, I have finished off my makeup. I did a very bright inner corner highlight. I did it with the gold shade from this Pure Bronze and Brighten palette. The one in the middle there, I also used that on my cheeks, although not that brightly. And on my lips, I did the NYX Cosmic Metals in the shade Galactic Love. I did a bit of a wing liner, not very much, and then I also did a black liner along my lower waterline, bunch of mascara, and this is the final look. So I'll zoom you in so you can see the final eye look. So the plan for this look is to do a spotlight eye and to play around in the copper and red. So I'm going to be using Rebel, this color in the middle here. I'm going to be using Wild Thing up at the top, and then I'll also be using this burgundy called The Wicked down at the bottom to sort of use for any depth that I want in the eye look. Zoom you in and let's get started. I'm going to start into Wild Thing here with a flat shader brush. And I'm going to be taking that shade and putting it on the inside and the outside of my lid. Oh, the inner corner and the outer corner. And that's not, oh my goodness, that's not that easy to work with, and there's fallout. And I also have to say that my eyes are watering a little bit, which sometimes happens if I'm sort of putting on and taking off makeup. So I do apologize for that, and I'm hoping it's not going to affect this look too much. So this is sort of a shimmery burgundy red color. Doesn't really seem to want to go where I want it to go. What I'm trying to do is sort of pack on the color here and then blend it out after, but it's not seeming to want to stick out here at the edge, which is an issue. So now that I've very messily put that on, I'm going to go in with a fluffy blending brush and blend the edges. Oh, see, this is getting, when I go into blend, it's just taking it away. Which is not what I was going for. Okay, so after I blend, I am gonna have to put more color back on there because it just blended away the color. Oh, so you can see how patchy that's gotten. I'm gonna go back in, just even with my finger, and try to deepen that up a little bit. Really not having the most fun time blending these. Okay, I'm gonna go in with a different little flat shader brush here into the Wicked down here in the corner, which looks like a very dark brown burgundy, and I'm going to use that to try to deepen up just right here at the outer edge. It's just completely patchy. That's not making that better. So the star of this look is going to be this middle shade here, Rebel. I know this is beautiful from swatching it, so I'm just gonna use that on my finger because I feel like that gives me the best color payoff. And yes, you can see that is beautiful. So I'm just tapping that around right in the middle. I'm a little scared to try to blend it too much with the brush because we did see what happened with blending there. Just gonna take a different blending brush and just try to find one that's gonna play nicely and just sort of blend along the edges. And I'm gonna see with this one if I can get a bit more of that Wicked shade. There is so much fallout under my eyes. I mean, I really like the shade Rebel, the one that's in the middle there, but everything else is just not doing what I want it to do. I am gonna go back into Wild Thing, the original color, the sort of metallic burgundy that I started with, and put that under my lower lash line. And I'm going to take the middle shade Rebel, the really pretty one, and do that on the inner lower lash line. And I'm also going to do that as my inner corner highlight. This is looking like such a disaster at this point. I'm gonna go do the rest of my makeup, clean up all over here where everything has fallen out, smudged around, and then be back to show you the final look. Hey guys, I'm back with the rest of my makeup done. Still having a hard time with this look because it's making my eyes water a little bit, and then that is taking away the eyeshadow on the outside edges of my eyes. I did go in with this Real Her liquid lipstick in the shade I'm a Rock Star, and I lined my lower waterline with this Makeup Geek pencil in Plumera, and I will zoom you in to show you the final look. For my final thoughts, I'm gonna follow up on that frustration that you kind of saw in the last look there. Now, part of that frustration was because my eyes are watering a little bit, but even so, it was getting very patchy. My thoughts on this palette, I think it should be a pass. I know that I was trying to do this palette with all of these colors, and really this is going to be a palette that complements something else, something that has some mattes in it, something that has some more transition shades. But overall, I think if you're looking at the colors in here that work really nicely, Rebel is the one that has the most pop to it, but it's not difficult to make a really beautiful copper shade. I have a number of those in other palettes. Heavy Metal and Punk are pretty nice, but I just don't see myself doing sort of a shimmery blue or metallic blue look that often, but they're okay. I did find that today Rock On and Pop Rock did okay, but other times they just end up looking gray. If you go back to my video that I did for the Seraphim Botanicals lip product, it was the same sort of colors I used there, and it just looked gray on camera. It all just kind of became muddy when I tried to blend it. I find with any of these shades, as soon as you try to blend them, they either go away or they turn into sort of a grayish, muddy kind of color. I don't find that Wild Thing or The Wicked or Glam Rock or Black Metal perform the way that I wanted them to. it doesn't quite do what I want it to do. And I do find there is a lot of fallout, which usually isn't a problem, but I found that it was irritating my eyes in some cases as well. And I just think that the only reason that I would reach for this again is for that middle shade. But again, I have that shade in other palettes. I also don't love the way this is kind of out of price point with the other palettes that they have. It does seem like this should be a $15 to $20 US palette rather than a $30 palette. I was fully expecting when I went and looked at the website for this that it was going to be $20, and I was surprised that it was $10 American more than I expected it to be. If you were Canadian and buying this, it would be getting close to $40, and it's just not worth that. I think it was fun to play with. They are really very smoky metallic tones that I don't have a lot of in my collection, but I also don't have a lot of them because I'm not that drawn to that many of them. And I think even if you are drawn to these colors, other than the blues and the copper, there's going to be better formulas out there, and probably at the same or if not a better price point. I'm curious though what you think of this palette. How have you been using it? Have you been liking it? Everything like that. Put it in the comments down below. I do try to respond to every comment that is made on any of my videos. And if you liked this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. That is everything for today. So if you've not subscribed yet, I'll make my face pop up right there so you can subscribe to my channel. I do try to do reviews about 3 times a week, and I'll put one of my older reviews here so you can watch it. And I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Bye.